Did you think the T-Rex's roar was the scariest part of 1993? Think again, because by 2026, a Jurassic curse has left the cast shattered. While one lead clings to life on experimental drugs, another faced a tragedy so horrific it wiped out 3 generations of their family in a single day. Join us as we uncover the dark reality behind these iconic roles. Bob Peck as Robert Muldoon. The steely, tactical game warden Robert Muldoon, the only man who truly respected the danger of the raptors, was portrayed by Bob Peck. Born August 23, 1945 in Leeds, England, he was 47 years old when he brought a silent, professional intensity that turned the line "clever girl" into a piece of movie history. He was widely regarded as one of the greatest actors of his generation. Bob Peck passed away on April 4, 1999, at 53 years old in London, England. His death was the culmination of a grueling 5-year battle with colorectal cancer. He died at the absolute peak of his career, with a net worth of approximately $2 million, having completed work on the 2000 film The Miracle Maker just before his health finally failed. But behind the tough, unbreakable persona of Muldoon was a man engaged in a silent, desperate race to secure his family's future. Diagnosed shortly after the success of Jurassic Park, Peck hid the severity of his illness from the public, undergoing painful treatments while continuing to take on physically demanding roles to provide for his wife and 3 children. The stress of knowing his time was running out made him even more focused on his craft, turning his final years into a masterclass in professional integrity. This silent bravery is how Bob Peck truly changed the lives of those who worked with him. He didn't seek the spotlight for his tragedy. Instead, he changed from a theater powerhouse into a humble, fierce provider who faced his end with the same unblinking focus his character showed in the jungle. While he didn't live to see the 2026 status of the franchise, he remains frozen in time as a man who proved that true strength is found in doing the work. Sam Neill as Dr. Alan Grant. The rugged paleontologist and moral anchor of the park, Dr. Alan Grant, was portrayed by Sam Neill. Born September 14, 1947, in Omagh, Northern Ireland. He was 45 years old when he provided the scientific weight and dry humor that grounded the film's prehistoric chaos. His performance earned him a permanent place in Hollywood history. As of April 2026, Sam Neill is 78 years old and remains a defiant figure in both cinema and agriculture in New Zealand. He is currently focused on the spring 2026 harvest at his 2 paddocks vineyard, while also preparing for the release of new voiceover work for a high-profile nature documentary. With an estimated net worth of $18 million, he continues to use his platform for environmental activism, specifically leading a 2026 public campaign against industrial expansion in central Otago to protect local ecosystems. But behind the image of the resilient survivor was a harrowing medical battle that began with a shock diagnosis in early 2022. Neill was told he had stage 3 angioimmunoblastic T-cell lymphoma, a rare blood cancer that required a brutal initial round of chemotherapy that completely failed. This failure forced him into an existential crisis, leading him to write his 2023 memoir, Did I Ever Tell You This?, while enduring the stress of a new experimental chemotherapy drug that he must now receive every 2 weeks for the rest of his life. And that struggle with mortality is what fundamentally reshaped his character. He finds absolute joy in the ordinary success of a vine growing or a morning with his grandchildren. He has openly stated that while the treatment leaves him physically exhausted for several days a month, it has stripped away his career anxieties, replacing them with a fierce, quiet gratitude for every extra year, turning a terminal diagnosis into a masterclass in living for the present moment. Richard Attenborough as John Hammond. The spared-no-expense visionary and park founder, John Hammond, was portrayed by the legendary Richard Attenborough. Born August 29, 1923, in Cambridge, England, He was 70 years old when he gave the film its grand ambition and tragic warmth. His role in Jurassic Park cemented his legacy as one of the most beloved figures in cinematic history. Richard Attenborough passed away on August 24, 2014, at 90 years old in London, England. His death was the result of a long decline in health following a severe stroke in 2008 that left him confined to a wheelchair and unable to speak clearly for his final 6 years. With an estimated net worth of $20 million at the time, he left behind a massive body of work. But his final decade was defined by a grief that no professional achievement could mask. The greatest tragedy of his life occurred on December 26, 2004, when the Indian Ocean tsunami killed his eldest daughter, Jane, and his granddaughter, Lucy. This unthinkable loss shattered his world, turning the famously optimistic director into a man who struggled to find meaning in his remaining years. The stress of this heartbreak accelerated his physical decline, transforming the booming, authoritative Lord Attenborough into a grieving father who spent his final days in a nursing home, focused entirely on the family he had left. And yet, that tragedy is what finalizes his human legacy. He changed from a man who wanted to build worlds of wonder to a man who understood the absolute fragility of everything human. His story wasn't just about his 70-year career in film. It was about the resilience of a man who continued to show dignity and kindness even after his heart was permanently broken. His life reminds us that the greatest creators are ultimately defined not by the things they build, but by how they endure the things they lose. Laura Dern as Dr. Ellie Sattler. The brilliant paleobotanist and trailblazing female lead, Dr. Ellie Sattler, was portrayed by Laura Dern. Born February 10, 1967, in Los Angeles, California, she was 26 years old when she brought a rare combination of physical grit and intellectual authority to the screen. This breakout role defined her early career, eventually leading to her legendary status with 15 major awards. As of 2026, Laura Dern is 59 years old and remains a powerhouse of industry leadership and social advocacy. She is currently spearheading the 2026 global distribution of the environmental documentary Common Ground, which she narrated to raise awareness about regenerative farming. With an estimated net worth of $20 million, she is also deep in pre-production for a new dramatic series she is producing, continuing to advocate for pay equity and the protection of underrepresented voices in Hollywood. But behind her steady rise was a period of professional blacklisting and personal upheaval that nearly broke her career in the late 1990s. After her participation in the landmark 1997 Coming Out episode of Ellen, she faced a sudden and total withdrawal of job offers that lasted for years, causing immense psychological stress and financial uncertainty. This professional crisis was compounded by her 2013 divorce from musician Ben Harper, a public ordeal that forced her to balance the demands of single motherhood with a struggling career revival. Yet that era of isolation became the foundation of her modern resilience. She shifted her focus from being a star to being a truth-teller, choosing roles that explored the raw, often painful realities of women's lives. The recent loss of her mother, Diane Ladd, in late 2024, further solidified her commitment to family legacy over industry fame. Her life is about a woman who used her darkest years to build a fortress of independence and an uncompromising artistic voice. Jeff Goldblum as Dr. Ian Malcolm. The charismatic, leather-jacketed chaos theorist, Dr. Ian Malcolm, who famously warned that life finds a way, was portrayed by Jeff Goldblum. Born October 22, 1952, in West Homestead, Pennsylvania, he was 40 years old when he delivered an eccentric, stuttering brilliance that turned him into a global pop culture icon. This performance launched a blockbuster era for Goldblum. In 2026, Jeff Goldblum is 73 years old and experiencing a massive cultural resurgence. He is currently on a major UK and European tour with his band, the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra, including a sold-out debut at the Royal Albert Hall in June 2026. Between his high-profile role as the Wizard in the Wicked film series and his estimated $40 million net worth, he has become a rare example of a veteran actor who remains perpetually cool and in demand for both film and high-fashion campaigns. But this public image of effortless charm masks the internal stress of a life that was dramatically rewired by late-life fatherhood. After spending decades as a dedicated bachelor, his marriage to Emily Livingston and the birth of his two sons when he was in his 60s triggered a profound shift in his psychology. In 2026, he deals with the constant private anxiety of being an older father, pushing himself through rigorous daily fitness and vocal regimes to ensure he stays relevant and healthy for his young family's future. This vulnerability is what truly changed the man behind the mathematician. He moved away from the cool, detached persona of his youth and toward a life defined by intense emotional presence and frantic creativity. The chaos he once theorized about is now something he embraces as a father and musician, turning his fear of the ticking clock into a vibrant, daily improvisation. His life is proof that the most significant evolution is found in the decision to start a brand new, high-stakes family chapter later in life. Wayne Knight as Dennis Nedry. Dennis Nedry, the disgruntled computer programmer whose greed and sabotage triggered the park's collapse, was portrayed by Wayne Knight. Born August 7, 1955 in New York City, he was 38 years old when he brought a sweaty, frantic brilliance to the role that made him one of cinema's most recognizable villains. His performance provided the essential human error element to the plot, proving that even the most advanced technology is vulnerable to a single man's resentment. As of 2026, Wayne Knight is 70 years old and remains a consistent presence in the industry, primarily focusing on high-level voice acting and theater. He is involved in several animated series and remains a fixture at fan conventions, where he reflects on a career built on playing the characters audiences love to hate. With an estimated net worth of $8 million, he has moved away from the high-stress demands of leading sitcom roles to enjoy a more selective pace of work. But behind the comedic success was a dangerous physical struggle that forced a radical change in his life. At his peak fame, Knight weighed over 300 pounds, a condition that led to chronic fatigue and a high risk of heart disease that left him terrified of an early death. The stress of being typecast solely for his weight, combined with the grueling filming schedule of Seinfeld, pushed him to a breaking point. This health crisis wasn't just a lifestyle choice. It was a survival necessity that led to him losing nearly 100 pounds through intense discipline and surgery, a transformation that altered his appearance so much it nearly cost him his brand as a character actor. And that struggle with his image became the foundation for his longevity. Knight had to reinvent his acting style, proving he could be just as effective without the physical gimmick of his size. He transitioned into masterclass voice work and Broadway performances, such as Sweet Charity, demonstrating a range that went far beyond the bumbling saboteur. His journey from a health-compromised comedian to a disciplined veteran performer is a testament to his resilience. He turned the very thing that made him famous, his physical presence, into a tool he could finally control, ensuring he would outlast the Nedry stereotype. Joseph Mazzello as Tim Murphy. Tim Murphy, the dinosaur-obsessed grandson of John Hammond who survived the T-Rex attack and the electric fence, was portrayed by Joseph Mazzello. Born September 21, 1983 in Rhinebeck, New York, he was only 9 years old when he brought a raw, wide-eyed vulnerability that allowed the audience to experience the terror of the park through a child's perspective. This role didn't just make him a child star, it established him as one of the most promising young talents in Hollywood. As of 2026, Joseph Mazzello is 42 years old and has successfully navigated the child star curse to become a respected adult actor and director. He remains active in the Los Angeles film community, often collaborating with fellow veterans of the industry. With an estimated net worth of $3 million, He is currently focusing on developing his own independent film projects behind the camera while maintaining a steady presence in prestige television. But the transition from the kid from Jurassic Park to a serious adult actor was marked by years of quiet humiliation and rejection. As he hit his late teens, Mazzello found himself being turned down for roles because he was too recognizable as a child, leading to a period of professional stagnation that shook his confidence. The stress of being a has-been before the age of 20 pushed him to step away from the cameras entirely to study cinema at USC, a move funded by a recommendation letter from Steven Spielberg himself. This period of academic isolation was a necessary retreat from a Hollywood system that had stopped seeing him as a person and started seeing him as a dated commodity. And yet, that academic hiatus became his greatest asset. By stepping back, he learned the technical side of filmmaking, which gave his later performances, like in The Social Network, a calculated depth that other actors lacked. He stopped trying to chase his childhood fame and started building a career based on technical skill and directing. His life today is the result of that pivot. He is no longer defined by a kid in a safari hat, but by his ability to reinvent himself. Mazzello proved that the only way to survive Hollywood is to be willing to walk away from it long enough to find out who you actually are. Ariana Richards as Lex Murphy. Lex Murphy, the computer-savvy granddaughter of John Hammond, whose Unix skills saved the survivors in the control room, was portrayed by Ariana Richards. Born September 11, 1979, in Healdsburg, California, she was 13 years old when she became a household name in 1993. She provided the film's crucial tech hero moment, shifting the narrative from helpless flight to active resistance. As of 2026, Ariana Richards is 46 years old and has largely retired from the Hollywood spotlight to pursue a highly successful career as a professional impressionist painter. Her artwork is internationally acclaimed, winning prestigious awards like the Art Renewal Center's International Salon. With a net worth estimated at $1.5 million, she now spends her time in her studio and traveling for gallery exhibitions. But the decision to leave acting wasn't an easy exit. It was a reaction to the intense, suffocating pressure of child stardom and the seedy underbelly of the 90s film industry. Richards struggled with the lack of privacy and the constant demand to maintain a specific, innocent image that didn't align with her maturing interests. The stress of being a public figure led to a period of creative burnout. She chose to walk away at the height of her visibility, a move that many in the industry called career suicide at the time. And that suicide became her salvation. By choosing the canvas over the camera, Richards regained control over her own image and life. Her success as a painter proved that she wasn't just a Spielberg kid, but a multifaceted artist with a vision that didn't require a director's cue. Her work, such as the famous Lady of the Dahlias, shows a level of focus that she credits to her time on film sets, but with a peace she never found in Hollywood. Her life is a rare example of a child star who simply chose a more beautiful path. Martin Ferrero as Donald Gennaro. Donald Gennaro, the blood-sucking lawyer whose cowardice and eventual death in a bathroom stall became the film's most darkly comedic moment, was portrayed by Martin Ferrero. Born September 29, 1947 in Brockport, New York, he was 45 years old when he played the cynical voice of corporate greed, providing the essential villain we love to see lose energy. His performance brought the film to life, even though it was rather unremarkable. As of 2026, Martin Ferrero is 78 years old and living a quiet, retired life in California. He has stepped away from major film and television productions, with his last notable credit being a humorous reprisal of his Jurassic Park role in a 2011 college humor parody. With an estimated net worth of $1 million, he enjoys a low-profile existence, occasionally engaging with the theater community where his career first began. But the legacy of being the guy who died on the toilet brought its own set of professional challenges and personal frustrations. For years after the film's release, Ferrero found it difficult to be cast in serious, dramatic roles, as audiences and casting directors couldn't disconnect him from his infamous, cowardly exit. This pigeonholing caused a period of career stagnation that was both financially and creatively draining. The stress of being a one-scene wonder in the eyes of the public forced him to find fulfillment in smaller, independent theater projects, moving away from the Hollywood machine that he felt only saw him as a punchline. And yet, that bathroom scene is exactly what secured his place in history. Ferrero eventually embraced the notoriety, recognizing that he had created one of the most memorable deaths in cinema. His shift into a quieter life wasn't a failure, but a deliberate choice to leave the industry on his own terms after a solid 30-year run. He turned the frustration of typecasting into a dignified retirement, proving that you don't need a leading man's career to leave an indelible mark on culture. His life in 2026 is a peaceful conclusion to a career built on being the perfect missing piece in every scene he inhabited. B.D. Wong as Dr. Henry Wu. Dr. Henry Wu, the lead geneticist whose cold, clinical ambition made the dinosaurs possible, was portrayed by B.D. Wong. Born October 24, 1960, in San Francisco, California, he was 32 years old when he brought a detached, intellectual arrogance to Wu, a character who would eventually evolve into the overarching antagonist of the Jurassic World trilogy. This role served as a bridge between his legendary stage career and his transition into a major film and TV presence. As of 2026, B.D. Wong is 65 years old and continues to be one of the busiest and most respected actors in the industry. He is currently starring in several high-profile television series and has recently returned to his roots on Broadway. His career has been defined by versatility, from his Emmy-nominated role in Mr. Robot to his long-standing role on Law & Order, SVU. With a net worth of approximately $8 million, he is a major advocate for Asian American representation and LGBTQ+ rights, actively mentoring the next generation of performers. But behind the clinical precision of his characters was a period of profound personal trauma and professional struggle. In 2000, Wong and his then-partner faced a devastating tragedy when one of their twin sons, Boaz, died just 90 minutes after birth due to complications. The grief of this loss, coupled with the stress of being an openly gay actor in a Hollywood that was still deeply traditional, pushed him into a period of intense psychological exhaustion. He had to navigate his mourning while simultaneously fighting for roles that didn't rely on tired racial or sexual stereotypes, a battle that often left him feeling isolated within the industry. And yet, that pain is what gave his later work its haunting depth. Wong used his experience with grief to fuel complex roles like White Rose in Mr. Robot, a performance that earned him critical acclaim and several award nominations. He transformed from a supporting scientist into a powerhouse lead who could command any room. By 2026, he has become a symbol of survival and authenticity. His life isn't just about the roles he played, it's about the barriers he broke and the personal tragedies he survived, turning his scars into a source of immense professional and personal power. Cameron Thor as Louis Dodgson. The shadowy corporate spy and head of BioSyn, Louis Dodgson, was portrayed by Cameron Thor. Born March 17, 1960, in Los Angeles, California, he was 33 years old during the 1993 production, delivering a brief but pivotal performance as the man who handed Dennis Nedry the infamous Barbasol can. This role placed him at the center of the film's inciting incident, serving as the face of corporate greed that ultimately led to the park's catastrophic security breach. As of 2026, Cameron Thor is 66 years old and remains completely removed from the entertainment industry following a permanent collapse of his professional and social standing. He is currently living in obscurity after serving a lengthy prison sentence, with no presence in film or television projects. His once thriving career as an acting coach and director has been entirely dismantled, leaving him with a negligible net worth and a legacy defined by legal disgrace rather than cinematic achievement. But the real-life plot twist for Thor was a shocking criminal downfall that surfaced decades after the film's success. In June 2014, Thor was arrested on multiple felony charges involving the kidnapping and sexual assault of a 13-year-old girl who was one of his acting students. In April 2016, a California judge sentenced him to 6 years in state prison after a jury found him guilty of lewd acts with a minor. The stress of the trial and the public exposure of his predatory behavior turned him from a respected industry coach into a convicted felon, ending his 30-year career instantly. And that legal conviction is what fundamentally erased his place in the Jurassic legacy. While the character of Louis Dodgson returned as the main villain in the 2022 film Jurassic World Dominion, Thor was pointedly ignored by the studio and replaced by actor Campbell Scott. His life is no longer about the prestige of Hollywood. It is a cautionary tale of how a position of authority was used for exploitation, resulting in a total loss of freedom and a permanent stain on his personal and professional history. More than 3 decades after Jurassic Park, the cast has changed in ways no one could have imagined, growing, evolving, and leaving behind legacies far beyond the island. So from 1993 to 2026, who changed the most in your eyes? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this, then and now, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more transformations like this. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.